Hi and welcome to today's Mishna Brura. We are in chapter 92, number 8, until the end of chapter number 93. Hamashtin, one who urinates, lo yitpalel, may not pray, ad sheyesheh, until he will wait, kedei hiluch arba amot, enough time to walk 4 amot, about 2 meters, mishum nitzotzot, because of drops. In other words, enough time for the urinal to be absorbed in the ground before it's a valid place to continue praying. Vamit palel, and somebody who's praying, lo yashtin ad sheyesheh kedei hiluch arba amot, and somebody who's prayed should not urinate until he waits enough time to walk 4 amot. Shekol arba amot tfilatosh shgura b'fiv, because for those, that 2 meter walk, whatever you would call it, a few seconds, his prayer is like held in his mouth. His prayer is present in his mouth. V'rochashay marchishin sifvatei, and his lips are moving. In other words, even after he's finished praying, his lips are still kind of going over the words, and so he should give himself a little bit of time to get out of the prayer zone before he goes to the bathroom. Ha-rokek, someone who spits, lo yitpalel, should not pray ad sheyesheh arba amot, until he waits that same amount of time. V'amitpalel, someone who prays, lo yarok, may not spit ad sheyesheh arba amot, until he will wait that same amount of time. V'davka lirtzono, and only to his will. In other words, if he actively decided, he chose to spit. Aval im nizdamein lo rok, but if spit occurred to him, just so happened that he ended up spitting a mouthful of spit after prayer, mutar, then it's permissible. Number 10, tov liten tzedakah kodem tefillah. It is good to give tzedakah before one prays. The Mishna Brura says, Hamashtin, someone who urinates. Rotzelama, this means bekli, in a vessel, v'nital hakli, and that vessel is taken away. V'kol ki hagavna, and all such cases, ki hagavna, such cases, or such a case. Any such case. She'ain isur litpalel mechamat hamei raglaim gufa, because there is no prohibition against praying because of the mei raglaim, literally the water of the legs. In other words, urine, gufa itself. That's an Aramaic word. She'yisheh kedei, you should wait enough time. Ve'achar arba amot, and after that 2 meters, shiuru chachamim, our sages measured, evaluated, she'anitzotzot she'ba'amato kalim bichsuto, that the droplets in his penis have finished on his on his clothing. So the idea is that even if a person drips a little bit afterwards, after that amount of time, it's basically disappeared. Okay, kedei hiluch, in order to walk this distance, Ratzulamar, this means hazman shel hiluch arba amot, the time of walking 4 amot. Aval la'achar shesha shiur zeh, but after he has waited this amount of time, mutar lihashtin, he is permitted to urinate, af b'makom shitpalel, even in the place where he prayed. Mikol makom, nevertheless, midat chasidut, it is a measure of piety, it's an extra good thing, shelo lashtin betoch arba amot shel tefillah, to not urinate within 4 meters of prayer. I mean, if you're going to, have a little respect for the place where you are talking to God, that's a good thing. But it's not required, because we're not talking about praying in a shul. Kata b'Sefer Hasidim, he wrote in Sefer Hasidim in Siman Tav Tav Kuf Chet 828, she'ein la'ishtin l'rot b'makom shekisa dam chaya v'of b'vracha ba'od she'adam mechusa, that he should not urinate or spit in a place where he covered the blood of a wild animal or a bird with a bracha, whilst that blood is still covered. So that's really a law relating to shchita, is that if you shecht a bird or a wild animal, you must cover that blood, and we don't spit or urinate in that place, because that's the place of a mitzvah. Number 9, lirtzono, if he decides to spit, then he shouldn't do so right after his davening. Parish, misha rokek mechamat tiyul, he is spitting because of tiyul. Tiyul means like a hike, right? Like a tour. that he enjoys it. He's spitting as a pastime. That's like okay, so that's only talking about it being problematic right after prayer. Take a look, chapter 97. Sometimes it's permissible even during prayer. They had very different conventions about spitting in those times to what we do today. Tefillah, prayer, dichtiv, ve'ani betzedek echazeh panecha. So this is saying you should give tzedakah before prayer, and that's because I will see Hashem's face, achazeh. I will see Hashem's face with tzedek, with righteousness, with tzedakah. Uva'ezeh kilot kedoshot, and in several holy communities, nitkan was established the minhag litain tzedakah keshemegia la'pasuk, to give tzedakah when we reach the verse v'ha'osher v'ha'kavod milfanecha v'atam moshel bakol, wealth and honor before you, and you rule over everything. That's a verse from Vayvarech David. I believe that's a custom of the Arizal. There are places where they gather tzedakah at the time of reading the Torah. And that is not correct. They negate through this the hearing of the Torah. Everyone's busy giving tzedakah and everything, which is wonderful, but through this they're not hearing the Torah. And they're not answering to Baruch Hu. Now, back to Shulchan Aruch number 93. Before you pray, you need to wait. So, what they say now is you should wait 1 moment before you begin. You stand up to pray, in order that he will focus his heart to Hashem. And a time after prayer, that it will not seem, will not look alav kamasui, onto him like a burden. He can't wait to get out of prayer. That he is hurrying to leave it. Number 2, you should not stand to pray except from reverence and submission. Lo mitoch schok v'kalat rosh, and not from laughter and levity. Udvarim batalim, and idle matters. V'lo mitoch ka'as, and not from anger. Ele mitoch simcha, rather it should be from happiness. Kagon divrei tanchumim shel Torah, like words of comfort of Torah, comforting words of Torah. In other words, words that speak to your heart. You feel comforted, you feel inspired. Samach legulat mitzrayim, close to the redemption from Egypt, or samach letilat David, or close to the prayer of David. In other words, Ashrei shekatuv bo ratzon yorev yaseh, the will of those who revere him he will do. Shomer Hashem et kol ha'avav, Hashem protects all of those who love him. So those kinds of good, inspiring words are a good way to start prayer. Number 3, ein omdim litpalel mitoch din v'lo mitoch halacha. We do not stand up to pray from law or from halacha. Shelo yeh libo tarud ba, so that his heart will not be caught up in it, bothered by it. Ele mitoch halacha psuka, so not from a whole discussion of halacha, but from ruled halacha. So don't daven right after a halachic discussion, but you can daven after a halachic ruling. The Ramah says, V'ayinu nami kamo mitoch simcha, and that also is like from happiness. Ki pikudei Hashem yesharim mesamchei lev, because the instructions of Hashem are upright and they bring joy to the heart. Number 4, ha'osek b'tzorchei tzibur, somebody who is engaged in the needs of the community. Ka'osek b'torah dami, is like he is involved in Torah. Perish, what this means is linyan la'amod mitocho litpalel, to get up from it and to pray. Shigam zu simchahu, also this is happiness. She'osek b'tzorchei tzibur, because he's involved in the needs of the community, should feel great joy and pride in what he's helping accomplish. V'yesh mafarshim dahainu she'enet tzarich lifsok litpalel. And some say, no, what it means when getting involved in the community is like learning, is not that it's such a joy to be involved in the needs of the community, but that it doesn't require one to stop in order to daven. Now, let's see the Mishna Brura. He says, Sha'achat, a moment before you pray. Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah hochichu migmara. The students of Rabbeinu Yonah prove from the Gemara. De'af al gav, even though devachol makom de'amrinan, every place that we say sha'a, perishor sha'a mu'etet, where it says sha'a, which can mean hour, can mean time. The explanation is a little time, a moment, like I translated it. Hacha here, perishor sha'a achat mishtar misrei shaot bayom. Here it means 1 hour from the 12 hours of the day. So it should take you 1 hour before prayer and 1 hour after prayer. Umihu, however, ze lachasidim. That is for the pious. That's for holy people. V'leshar am, and for the rest of the nation, die, it is sufficient. B'sha'a mu'etet, with a small amount of time. Sheyishe kodem she'echil, that he should wait before he begins. Shehu kedei hiluch shmona tfachim, which is enough to walk 8 tfachim. Let's call that 80 centimeters. Kamo shekatu b'siman tzadi sof sif chaf, as we wrote, chapter 90, the end of number 20. Ansham, take a look there. Katav b'seder hayom, he wrote in the book Seder Hayom, im yachol lehit akev ad shelo yishaer asara b'vet knesset, if he is able to delay, to wait, until there will not remain 10 in the shul, tov lo, that is good for him. Ein sham tamo, take a look there. Gam ki hayeshiva b'veit knesset u mitzvah b'fnei atzma, also because sitting in the shul is a mitzvah by itself. In other words, if you finish the Amidah and everything else, and you want to go on with your own prayers, and you go on and on with your own prayers until people start going, so that's a good thing. You clearly are not running out of shul. Sheyechavein, you should focus. Ha'arizal mitpalel mitoch hasidur. The Arizal would pray from a sidur, kedei sheyechavein meod, in order that he would focus very much. Gam shelo lehavlia nekuda, also that he would not swallow vowels, that he would pronounce the words properly, because sometimes when you're saying it not from a sidur, you just kind of run with the words. In the sidur, it's easier to be more precise. And everything according to what a person feels in his soul. Some people concentrate better with a siddur, some people concentrate better without the siddur. When we approach Hashem, it should be with reverence and submission. Shene'emar, as the verse says, Ivdu et Hashem b'yira. Serve Hashem with reverence. Hainu, this means hatfilah, prayer, shehi lanu b'makom avodah, which is for us in the place of service. Asuota b'yira. You should do that with reverence. So when it says serve Hashem with reverence, that's referring to the temple, but our prayer is like our temple service, so that's why we should feel reverence. Lo mitoch, and not from all of these other emotions. What this means is, the mitzvah min hamuvchar, the choicest mitzvah, she'ein omdim ele mitoch eima v'hachna'ah, that we do not stand except from reverence and submission. Ela keivan de'ein kol echad yachol lizaher, since not every person is able to be careful, to bring into his heart submission and reverence. Al kol panim, at the very least, lo yitpalel mitoch schok. He should not pray from levity, ele mitoch simcha shel mitzvah, but from the happiness of a mitzvah, so deep joy rather than frivolity and laughing. Psuka. Halacha that comes to a conclusion. It does not have investigation. You don't have to spend an hour trying to understand it. And it doesn't have division. There's one opinion, there's another opinion, and it's not really clear. No, we're talking about clear halacha. It says that it makes sense. Great. Kedei, in order. Shelo yitareid al yedei zeh b'tfilah, that he will not be bothered, preoccupied through this in his prayer. Nevertheless, im asak b'pilpul halacha, if he was engaged in pilpul, basically means like debate, in the debate of halacha, v'itchilu hatzibur litpalel, and the community started davening, yitpalel mehem, daven with them. So don't say, oh, well, now I won't be able to focus properly, so I'll have to kind of come down from this focus of halacha and pray with them later. No, pray with them. Ubifrat achshav, especially now, shem chavnin kol kach b'tfilah, that we don't have such great focus and prayer the best of times, so to claim distraction is not really so relevant. V'lo yizuru el lechadchila, they do not caution except lechadchila in the first place. If you can pray not during that time, that is better. Shelo ya'asok b'filpul kodem ha tefillah, that you should not involve yourself in pilpul before prayer. Le'inyan la'amod, as far as standing up, u'bilvad she'yeh domeh lahalacha psuka, as long as it will be similar to a given halacha. Shelo yehei ba'ad davar shel tirda, that there will not be in it a matter of something that will bother you. Umikol, that will distract you. Mikol makom, en levatel tfilat hatzibur mishum zeh, but do not negate davening the community because of this. How much more so if he's worried that the time will pass that he is rashai, permitted to pray. Okay, as far as when he speaks about the communal matters, so they said that's really that you're allowed to stand from communal matters to go straight into prayer, and that was the consensus. And now he's saying, but some say it means you don't need to stop davening. This is the second opinion, even if time will pass. If there is no one who will make the effort in it except him. Finally, take a look earlier at chapter 70 where we discussed that in more length. And he does not need to pray mincha twice in order to make up for shacharit if he was involved in communal affairs and that's why he missed shacharit. Shekayvan, since shebishat chovato, at the time of his obligation, haya patur mimena, he was exempt from it. Minadin, according to the law, ein tzarich tashlumin klal, he does not need to make up for it at all. And that's it for today.